Best practices for B2B email outreach in 2025. Cold email is harder in 2025 and still one of the best levers for pipeline. If cold outreach feels tougher than it used to, you're not imagining it. Inbox providers are stricter, buyers are drowning in templated AI personalization, and volume-first outbound is now the fastest way to damage your sender reputation. What hasn't changed is the upside when you do it right. Email continues to produce around $36 in revenue for every $1 spent, which is why serious teams still treat email as a core outbound channel, not an optional add-on. In 2025, the winning playbook is simple but disciplined. Keep deliverability clean, keep lists tight, write human emails, and measure outcomes that matter. Whether you run outreach in-house or through a B2B sales agency or SDR agency, the mechanics are the same. Relevance beats volume every time. Know the baselines, benchmarks that actually reflect 2025 reality. If your team doesn't agree on what good looks like, you'll chase the wrong fixes. Across B2B programs, current benchmarks land around a 20.8% open rate, 3.2% click-through rate, and 2.0% bounce rate, useful as a directional baseline for list quality and domain health, even if your cold outbound will behave differently. For cold email specifically, averages tend to cluster around 27.7% opens, 5.1% replies, and roughly 1.0% of sends turning into booked meetings. That's the point. Small changes in targeting, deliverability, and message market fit can double meetings without doubling volume. Also, performance is trending down for average teams. One study showed reply rates sliding from 6.8% 2023 to 5.8% 2024, which is why same list, same template, more volume is a dead end. The gap is widening between generic outreach stuck at 1 to 3% replies and relevance-first campaigns reaching 8 to 12%. Targeting is the multiplier. Shrink lists, raise reply rates. In 2025, mid-market SaaS isn't an ICP. It's a guess. The teams that win build micro ICPs, where every contact shares a plausible pain and a clear trigger, like US SaaS, 50 to 250 employees, scaling SDR headcount, using Salesforce, recently funded, or hiring outbound. When the slice is tight, your copy can be specific without being creepy. We see the same pattern whether companies run internal SDR teams or work with an outbound sales agency. Smaller batches enable better thinking. A practical operating rhythm is rebuilding one list at a time and capping each batch at 100 to 200 verified contacts, so reps can personalize meaningfully, spot patterns, and iterate fast instead of hiding behind volume. Account coverage matters, but over-contacting kills trust. Start with 1 to 2 highly relevant people per company, then multi-thread only after engagement. Blasting 10-plus employees at the same account reads as spam, increases complaint risk, and can burn a relationship you'll want later, especially if you're pairing email with cold calling services or LinkedIn touches. Deliverability is a sales KPI now, not an IT checkbox. Google and Yahoo's bulk sender expectations changed the game. If you send 5,000 plus emails per day, you're expected to have SPF, DKIM, and DMARC configured correctly, include one-click unsubscribe, and maintain extremely low complaint rates. Otherwise, you get throttled, routed to spam, or blocked outright. The biggest silent killer is complaints. Bulk senders need to keep spam complaint rates under 0.3%, and Google has signaled a preference for staying below 0.1%. That forces a mindset shift. List hygiene, verification, pruning, and removing risky segments is not busy work. It's what protects your ability to book meetings next week. Treat domain health like you treat meetings booked. Track it weekly and stop the line when it spikes. In practice, that means monitoring bounce rates, aim around the 2.0% benchmark, pausing sends if bounces exceed 3%, and using compliant unsubscribe so uninterested prospects exit cleanly instead of hitting spam. This is also why many teams separate cold outreach domains from their primary domain to reduce brand risk. If your emails don't hit the inbox, your SDR team isn't underperforming. Your system is. Write emails that sound human and earn a reply. Prospects can smell automation instantly in 2025, so personalization has to mean relevance, not novelty. Data suggests personalized cold emails are about 2.7x more likely to be opened, and adding the recipient's name in the subject line can lift opens by about 20%. Opens aren't the end goal, but they're the doorway to replies. Format matters more than most teams admit. Short, plain text emails in the 50 to 125 word range with 6 to 8 sentences tend to outperform long, pitch-heavy messages because they feel like a real note and make the ask easy to answer. A single clear CTA, usually a simple question, will usually beat 2 options and a calendar link. AI can help, but only if humans stay responsible for judgment. At SalesHive, we use our AI engine, eMod, to draft tailored intros based on public signals. Then our team reviews for accuracy, tone, and whether the hook actually ties back to a real pain. This AI drafts humans decide workflow prevents the most common mistake we see, scaling mediocre messaging faster and calling it optimization. Sequence like a strategist. Change the angle, not just the subject line. Most sequences fail because they repeat the same pitch 3 times and hope timing does the work. Instead, design a cadence where each touch brings a new angle, problem, proof, insight framework, and a low-friction bump, so the prospect has a fresh reason to engage. This is how top-performing cold email agencies and sales development agencies keep follow-up from becoming nagging. Keep sequences lean. For most B2B motions, 4 to 6 touches per channel is the point of diminishing returns, and a strong starting point is 3 to 4 emails over 10 to 18 days. The most important detail isn't the number, it's the spacing and the intentional shift in message so prospects don't feel like they're being hammered by a bot. Email also performs better when it doesn't sit in a silo. Pair your sequence with LinkedIn touches and a targeted call, especially when you're selling into roles that respond better live. If you already run a cold calling team or use sales outsourcing, align the talking points so the call reinforces the same pain and proof the email introduced, rather than sounding like a separate campaign. Common mistakes that tank results and how to fix them. The most expensive mistake is confusing activity for progress. Sending more emails when replies dip usually accelerates the problem because complaints and bounces compound over time. If your reply rate is stuck in the 1 to 3% range, assume the issue is relevance, list quality, or deliverability before you assume prospects just aren't buying. Another common failure is measuring the wrong thing. Open rates can help diagnose subject lines and deliverability, but they don't pay the bills. Track reply rate, positive reply rate, meetings booked per 100 contacts, and spam complaint rate as your core operating metrics. Then use opens and clicks as supporting indicators when something breaks. Finally, teams often multi-thread in a way that looks like spam. If you email too many people at the same company, you increase internal forwarding and the odds someone flags you. Keep it to 1 to 2 decision makers initially and only expand once the account shows intent, reply, click, or a positive signal during a call, which is a best practice we apply across our outsourced sales team programs. Optimization in 2025. Build a simple system and improve it every week. If you want consistent results, treat Outbound like a weekly operating system, not a one-time project. Start with a 7-day infrastructure audit, SPF, DKIM, DMARC alignment, one-click unsubscribe, and domain monitoring. Then rebuild one micro ICP list from scratch with verified data. That single reset often fixes mysterious underperformance faster than rewriting templates for the 5th time. Then run structured experiments for 30 days. Test small versus large batches, different send windows, and different subject styles, but judge winners by positive replies and meetings booked, not just opens. When you find a pocket where opens are in the 25 to 30% range and replies are 5 to 8%, your next job is to scale carefully without breaking complaint thresholds. The direction of the market is clear: stricter inbox enforcement and more noise. The teams that keep winning will be the ones that operationalize quality, clean data, compliant sending, thoughtful sequences, and human review on AI-assisted personalization. If you'd rather not build that machinery alone, partnering with a B2B sales agency that also runs cold calling services can help unify email, calls, and reporting into one accountable pipeline engine.